Hello everyone and a pleasant good evening. Welcome to On the Couch. I'm Thomas Napoli.
And I'm Melissa Priori. The peer referral and orientation staff, or PROs, are a diverse group of students who know firsthand what it is like to deal with the concerns of Rowan University students. Here to talk about the PROs is Shane Caroli. Shane, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So what are the PROs?
Yeah, so as you said, the PROs are the peer referral orientation staff, and essentially we are sort of the first encounter that new students have with the university. So they would come in, they'd be accepted, they would go on their tour with the ambassadors, and then they attend orientation. And orientation is where they start to really build the connections with other students at the university, and it's the PROs who help to facilitate those connections.
Okay, so what other services do you offer as a pro to other students around campus?
Yeah, so the bulk of our job comes throughout the summer orientation programs. They're usually 2-day programs for our freshman orientations and typically 1-day programs for the transfer orientations. Now, in addition to the orientations, our PROS members do stay in touch with the students throughout the semester and really hopefully throughout their entire time here at Rowan. But in addition to the orientations that take place, our office is responsible for leadership programs as well. So the PROs run out of the Office of Orientation and Student Leadership. So in addition to the orientations, we're doing leadership programs throughout the semester. Gary Baker is our assistant director for Leadership Rowan, so he oversees a lot of that, as well as transfer services that oftentimes are involved with our office.
So you said the PROs are responsible a lot for an orientation week. What are the specific duties in orientation week that the PROs handle?
That's a great question. So the PROs really they're there with the students from the second that they get there, so the second that they check in, ultimately until the students leave. So a typical orientation program involves students coming in early in the morning on the first day. They get assigned to a group, usually based on their major, and they have a PROs member who is in charge of that group for the 2 days. So that PROs member would be in charge of icebreakers, in charge of facilitating introductions, beginning to build those relationships. And then the PROs are really there to answer the questions that the students might have throughout the orientation. So one of the big things with PROs is the R, which is referral. So as PROs members, we don't know everything about the university, but we oftentimes refer students to those who do. So if a student might have a question about housing, that would be a great time that we would refer them to our housing office so that they would be able to get those questions answered. So it's really just providing any details that the students might have questions about to those students.
Okay, so now I understand you guys are doing some PROs recruiting, so can you tell us how we get involved in that if we were to want to become a pro?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're in the process of recruiting PROs for the upcoming summer orientation program. So the recruitment is being done through ProfLink, which is a new software that the university has rolled out this year, and that also is run through our office. So students would go to ProfLink, they would go to our orientation and student leadership page, and right there is where they could find the application for the position. We also do have an information session coming up on December 10th, and that's going to be in the Student Center. And that information is also on ProfLink. So that would be an opportunity for potential PROs members to hear about the position, to hear about some of the responsibilities, the benefits that come with it, and then also to have the opportunity to start the application process.
What sort of things, qualifications, personality traits do you look for when it comes to a PROs member?
That's a great question. So something that's unique about the PROs position is that really, as I said, it's the first encounter that students have with the university, and that's every single student that comes into Rowan. So it's not something that's limited to a specific major, a specific gender, but it's really something that is every single student. So we look for everyone. We look for different majors. We look for individuals that may have been part of EOF or PCI, the honors program, the Camden campus. It's really a position that's not limited. There are certain requirements as far as GPA or judicial standing, and they're pretty much the norm requirements for most positions on campus.
So what exactly is your position? What do you do with the PROs?
So I'm the graduate coordinator for the PROs. I actually did my undergrad at Rowan as well, and I was a PROs member for 1 year, and I was a team leader, which is a supervisor of a group of PROs for my second year. And I applied to graduate school here I was accepted into the Counseling and Educational Settings program, and my position now is the graduate coordinator for pros. So I oversee our staff of 40 pros with assistance from our Senior Director of Orientation and Student Leadership, Mr. Drew Tinnen, as well as our Assistant Director, Gary Baker.
So what is a responsibility of a pro after that orientation week throughout the course of the school year?
So one of the big things that we emphasize with our pros members is trying to maintain the relationships with students after the orientation. So I know something that's very common with our pros members is creating Facebook pages in order to add the students that were in their groups as a means of communication. So something that's common is being able to post questions in that group, being able to share helpful tips about the university based on what they might have experienced or even what other students that came through orientation are experiencing. So again, it's really just helping to build that relationship between other students so that they can then be resources to each other. Another big expectation of the pros throughout the regular semester, not just during the summer, we do help with commencement week. So the pros it's a very distinguished position on campus, so anytime there's a major event going on, oftentimes the pros are the first group that's called upon. I know a few years back when President Hushman had the inauguration, the pros were really the first group that was called upon to help assist with that. So there are a handful of events that happen throughout the semester as well.
So you mentioned how the pros is kind of prestigious. What kind of tools do you learn in being a pro that help you, not only as a pro, but even in the real world?
There's so many things that you learn being a pros member. Everything from time management to communication skills. We also talk about some of the challenges that students might encounter as they come into the university. Referral skills are a huge thing, and another big bonus with the position is the networking opportunities. So as a pros member, you're working with advisors within the different colleges, you're working with the deans at times, administrators within the university, so you're really learning those professional skills that help you to have those conversations, that help you to build those relationships. And it's a very thorough training process that the pros go through. So during the spring semester, we have about a dozen or so Wednesday night trainings. They're 3 hours each, so it's kind of a crash course on not only the university and everything that we have here. There's always new programs being developed, new majors that are being developed. So the pros have to be both informed about the logistical things that are happening at the university, as well as how to communicate those to the students.
What has been your favorite moment as a pro?
My favorite moment as a pro, I think the biggest thing with the biggest benefit of being a pros member is having the opportunity to stay in touch with students. I know even being a graduate student now, there's times where I might see a student, because I was a pros member only 2 years ago, so I might see a student that was in one of my groups, and it's the opportunity to have a conversation with them, to see that they're doing great with their academics, that they're doing great getting involved on campus. So it's really cool to see that the 2 days that you spend with a student actually do play a huge part in their life. And a lot of times it's awesome as pros members, we get to hear stories where, hey, you really encouraged me to get involved in this program, or you really helped me to fall in love with Rowan University. So seeing the fruit of what you're doing is a huge benefit.
Shane, thank you for coming to On the Couch today. And don't go anywhere, because On the Couch, we'll be right back.